The Virginia Capital Case Clearinghouse at Washington and Lee's School of Law has no official position on the death penalty. But that doesn't mean the students and professor who work there don't.
We're the last democracy that uses it, at least Western democracy. In Europe, which is the societies most like ours in theory, that legally it's considered a crime against humanity.
Although fewer and fewer prosecutors are seeking the death penalty nationally, VC3 Director David Bruck says Virginia's system is stacked in favor of death because of its focus on something called future dangerousness.
They tell you all about the murder and all about how frightening its conduct out in society was, but then they prevent you from showing that society has ways of protecting itself without the death penalty.
W&L law students who have worked at the clinic say they've seen firsthand the problems that can arise in a capital trial.
I'm not convinced that the death penalty could ever be meted out fairly. I think there's a lot of racial bias, a lot of socioeconomic bias.
In any capital or any criminal case, you have the full resources of the government brought to bear against a single person. And when it's a capital case, so you have the prosecutors, who are the attorneys, and you have investigators. Those are called the police department, the entire police force or whoever's assigned to it. They have their own scientific labs. They have their own salaried people who are responsible for evaluating, fingerprints, ballistics, DNA, this whole battery of people. It's sort of like this team or army of people. And on the defense side, even in Virginia, where we have capital defender offices, which are devoted specifically to, capital cases, you have an attorney and maybe you have 2 investigators. And everything else you get, you have to beg from the court.
Money isn't just an issue for the defense. It's an issue for the whole system.
Everybody that actually works in the system knows that it's way more expensive to have the death penalty.
Buena Vista's Commonwealth's attorney has never tried any cases that would qualify for capital murder. But he sees why some prosecutors might be less willing to pursue the death penalty now.
My guess is that prosecutors have rethought, is it necessarily worth it to pursue something that's really controversial in general, the death penalty, takes a very long time, and has greater uncertainty.
With current trends in mind, Bruck says the death penalty might eventually be no more. But for the time being, he and his students will keep devoting their resources to capital defense.
And I think the question is whether we deserve to put people to death, not whether people deserve to die.
And but I have to say that in the end, there's no good way to do a bad thing.
For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Eleanor Kennedy.